Welcome to this week's episode of Business Roundup. My name is Wadullo Arnold, and in this episode, President Museveni hails bilateral ties between Uganda and Kenya during his state visit. And then the banking sector releases its financial performance of 2018. In our Sounds of Business, we take you to Tsavo National Park in Kenya. These and more, so stay tuned. In our first story, Agribusiness Development Center is training farmers on the best ways to determine fair but profitable prices for their produce, basing on the seasons of demand. Coffee and cocoa farmers highly depend on negotiations made to them by middlemen to determine prices for their produce on both local and international markets. Coffee and cocoa farming in Uganda are all regulated under the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. However, due to some challenges in the production chain, there has been an outcry of ignorance by some farmers on how best to set prices for their products.
First of all, we've been experiencing a lot of competition. There are many buyers who go to our place to look for cocoa. So some of us as the cooperatives will get a challenge whereby we cannot buy from any howly. We just buy from these groups which we formed in the villages. So if when these buyers go to those groups, they hike in the price. So for us it becomes difficult for us to also market for our farmers. According to Jimmy Ekemo, a business advisor at Agribusiness Development Center, this is as a result of the differences in the farmers' and middlemen's expectations from the market.
One of the issues that affects our farmers actually here is the international market. We have issues of exchange rates. Our farmers here buy products on local currency using UGX, but they're sold in the international market in foreign currencies. So we have one of the risks we call the conversion risk. Because you're buying in UGX, you're selling in USD, you're selling in dollars. So there's the risk of conversion. The other risk that we've identified is the quality of contracts that we enter in. That's why we're equipping them on top of the risk management training. We want to equip them with skills to be able to make good forward contracts that mitigate them against the volatilities of the prices in the market.
Agribusiness Development Center is training a select group of coffee and cocoa export farmers on how to set fair trade prices and also adopt an open contract methodology of transaction to minimize unfair pricing. Farmers in Uganda decry the access to finance, especially because most banks offer high interest rates.
As farmers, if coffee farmers decide not to export their coffee, but they're going to just trade locally or they sell locally to the bigger exporters, they will pay on average 23% interest. But what we see with the exporting farmers, they're shipping and they receive dollars. And if you receive dollars for your coffee, you can also borrow in dollars. And dollar loans are in general cheaper. So if you talk about the dollar loan, then you can, on average, between 10 and 12% interest is normal.
In June 2018, the International Coffee Organization Composite Indicator decreased by 26% to an average of $1.14 per pound of coffee, the lowest monthly average since 2013. For UBC Business, Wadullo Arnold. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has launched the biometric registration of artisan and small-scale miners in Uganda. The registration seeks to provide regulations and recognizing the subsector's contribution to the country's social and economic development.
More than 90% of minerals in Uganda are artisan and on average contribute about 1.2 trillion shillings to the country's economy annually. Despite this contribution, the sector still battles impeding bottlenecks affecting its growth, according to Africa Center for Energy and Mineral Policy Uganda.
We have to appreciate that the ASM sector has been illegal until to date. So you find that most of these ASMs have been operating on areas that have already been concessioned out to multinationals or to investors that have come in and gone through the right procedures, process.
It is for this reason that the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has launched the biometric registration of artisan and small-scale miners in Uganda to recognize efforts of the undervalued sector.
And even we get the people who can officially buy from them, like the mineral dealers. They have licenses. This has happened in Tanzania, it is happening in Uganda and other areas where we have done the benchmarking.
Women make a big percentage of artisan miners in Uganda and believe the exercise has come at the right time for them to also lobby government for more support.
So we think it's really important because we know if we are registered, we come together and we can get better tools to work better.
As registration kicks off, some miners are skeptical about the efficiency of this database.
It's a good idea, but particularly for our region it's a little bit tricky. Because now, for example, we have other mining sites that have over 800 to 1,000 members, and some of them come from various places, and the challenge comes in, even if we register them, they come just for a one-day work for survival.
Several attempts by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development to register artisan miners in Uganda haven't been successful, as artisan miners keep migrating from one place to another. The biometric registration of the artisan miners through their associations is expected to cost government 1.3 billion shillings. Charlotte Amuge and Banadika for UBC News.
The Minister for ICT and National Guidance has encouraged the youth to embrace new technologies and acquire skills for socio-economic growth. Frank Tumwebaze was presiding over the Vocational Skills Training Graduation Ceremony in Rwamwanja, Vocational Skills Training Center in Kamwenge District. The project, targeting the refugee youth and host community, is implemented by Finn Church Aid, with partners who include UNHCR and KOICA.
Wembabazi Isaac is among the beneficiaries of the entrepreneurship and skilling training implemented by Finn Church Aid organization at Rwamwanja Refugee Settlement in Kamwenge District. The training has enabled him to innovate and in the process earn a living. With this Yamaha motorbike engine, Isaac is able to generate electricity that is utilized in many ways.
All things that use electricity in general can be used with this engine because it produces electricity.
Isaac is among the 607 refugee and host community youth graduating in blacksmith welding, hairdressing, agriculture, vocational education and training, among others. The skilling initiative is aimed at transforming the lives of thousands of refugee youth in Rwamwanja.
Our courses are demand driven, so before we start these courses, we first do a market assessment to determine how is the potential for employment. Our aim is that we train these youth and to ensure that they utilize the skills and the capacities gained from this training, not only training and then you sit down. We also have a career follow-up mechanism. We have career counselors at this center who follow up the trainees during the training and after training.
ICT Minister Frank Tumwebaze reiterated government's commitment to host refugees in addition to empowering them socially and economically.
We cannot be happy in Uganda if our neighbors in Congo, Rwanda, Sudan, wherever are not happy. Even beyond Africa, we emphasize continent-to-continent cooperation because we know if Africa closes itself and we say we chase the Indians, the Chinese, the Europeans, we are finished. And you strongly heard our president talk in Kenya that I will never close our borders because I will be like closing the Ugandans in a bottle. That's a very, very strong statement.
46 youth obtained diplomas in micro-entrepreneurship instructed by entrepreneurship experts from the Omnia Education Partnership, Finland.
These are diplomas that are based on Finnish quality standards, also obviously co-created here to meet the local needs. But it already, these people are learning the kind of skills required in Finland if they would access a job or employment in a certain sector.
Dennis Igoa and Robin Yoso for UBC News.
As Uganda's energy sector reignites solar adoption initiatives, a wide range of innovations are starting to shape up within the market. The Zembo electric motorcycle, is yet to be one of the latest solar-powered innovations that could revolutionize Uganda's Boda-Boda sector. At a glance, you might mistake this motorcycle for an ordinary one. It is only out of curiosity that one may discover what may be a game changer in the transport sector of Uganda.
The special things about this bike is that it doesn't use fuel in the first place. That also means it doesn't emit any fumes. In Kampala, we know we have a very bad quality of the air, and with those bikes we can face this challenge, why we don't emit any fumes, and also we reduce the noise, as this bike doesn't make any noise.
Unlike the conventional fuel motorcycle, the Zembo is a fully electric vehicle that runs on rechargeable solar-powered lithium batteries.
Why solar? For simply one reason. The solar is a very sustainable source of energy. We have the sun here in Uganda quite every day, and in the solar sector where I'm coming from, where my background is, we had always the lack of a productive use. And with the transport sector, we can have this productive use. While the Boda-Boda sector in Uganda is very large.
Zembo has been testing the machine since October 2018 and can travel up to 60 kilometers before the need to recharge or replace the battery. The bike has not been launched on the Ugandan market, but Daniel says that since they are targeting the Boda-Boda industry, it will be affordable in price.
Basically the fuel, we remove it by a battery. The battery is a state-to-the-art lithium battery, and then we have just two more components, which is the motor controller and the motor. With those three components, we replace the fuel tank, the clutch, the combustion chamber, everything, even the transmission, as our power goes directly to the rear wheel where the torque and the speed is produced.
I had a chance to test the bike, and indeed it makes no sound at all. Due to its electric transmission, I found its acceleration to be a little sensitive than the usual fuel bikes. So I must say the Zembo bike is a crazy innovation as far as the transport sector is concerned. It doesn't use a chain, doesn't even use fuel in this tank. All you need to do is take this battery that is over here down and take it to a charging station, and they can replace for you a charger. If the transport sector is going to be taking up an innovation like this, people must be ready to change their mindsets and each and everything they are ready to accept as far as the transport sector is concerned. Under the Let's Go Solar campaign, Uganda's solar energy sector is making drastic developments in consolidating all its stakeholders under the Uganda Solar Energy Association. For UBC Business, Wadulo Mark-Arnold. UMEME Electricity Company's sales increased by 13% to 1.6 trillion shillings in 2018. The improvement is attributed to the increase of customers, overall improvement in the electricity system, and a decrease in energy losses, among others. Despite UMEME'S robust performance, the company still grapples with electricity theft. Our reporter Dennis Sigoa had a chat with Celestino Babunji, the managing director of UMEME.
We have power theft and administrative losses, what we call whereby people hook and tap power, bypass our meters, try to introduce foreign objects in our meters. That's what we call commercial losses. We believe that's estimated at 6.6 percentage points. So our strategy is to invest in the network while fighting people who steal the power. And that's why we are calling on government to put in place an enabling stiff law that will curtail or deter people from tampering with our infrastructure to steal power. On efficiency again, the other performance was on revenue collections, which are fundamental for the survival of the sector. True. We collected on average over the last 5 years an average of 99%. Last year we achieved 102 percentage points. As you note from the results, out of billings of 1.6 trillion shillings, we pay the transmission company 1.1 trillion because we as the front end collect the money and pass it on to finance the generators and the transmission company. If that's not efficient, it means government has to provide subsidies, get fiscal resources to finance the sector. We're also glad we remitted 135 billion shillings to the Uganda Revenue Authority through direct and indirect taxes. We believe this is fundamental because paying taxes enables the government to provide other services.
Isimba, of course, has been added onto the grid just a few days ago. What does it mean to UMEME?
Isimba is good. I recall in 2012 when Bujagali was commissioned, everyone said, oh, it will never, it's a white elephant, it will never be used. Guess what? In a space of 4 years, the whole Bujagali is gone. It's being used. Isimba has come on board. As I indicated, we are seeing 9% growth. Isima will be consumed. And Bujagali will be, and the Karum also will come on board and will be consumed. What's important for the country is it's better to have a surplus.
Yes.
Then you continue to use. Because to build these dams, it takes a minimum of 6 years. Okay? So, meaning that if we commission construction of another dam 2019, the earliest it will be on stream is 2025.
Yeah,
What does that mean between that period? So government took a wise decision to ensure that there's enough reserve, which we continuously claw in as we build these big dams, which as a distributor, for me, I'm so excited because I have enough power to evacuate and deliver to my customers.
So what is your message to the consumers out there? What should they expect in 2019 and the coming years?
I think for our consumers, it's the reason every day we wake up. Personally, I take customer service fundamental. It is sad that we have around 24% of Ugandans on the grid. My desire is everyone should be on the grid. We know, we believe, and know the impact of electricity for economics, for households, social transformation, and for industrialization. So one objective is we have to connect as many customers to the grid as possible during the year. Yeah.
The concession discussion. So I know when I talk about this, you've been meeting the parliamentarians recently. Of course, you've been pushing for government to extend the concession. So maybe you can tell us where have you reached so far in terms of the negotiation?
I think what's available is what's available in the public. What we can say is that there's willingness both on the government and the UMEME to engage, because UMEME is here to solve one challenge on behalf of government. We are agents of government to drive and supply and distribute electricity. We've done so well from the time we came into play.
Yes.
Government is desirous. They have invested a lot in generation, invested a lot in transmission, are desirous to electrify every home in Uganda.
Yes.
And we as UMEME are providing that platform, but enable us attract long-term money.
Yes.
The current contract of 6 years remaining is not long enough to attract long-term money, okay? That's why we are desirous to engage with the government to extend this concession so that we can attract long-term money and continue to replicate the benefits and successes we have achieved for the benefit of consumers.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Good.
Over 170 university students are expected to benefit from the 16th edition of the Muljibai Madhvani Foundation Scholarship. In another development, DFCU Bank has recorded a drop of 58.2 billion shillings in the 2018 financial year. We have more of this in our corporate wrap.
The Muljibai Madhvani Foundation has set aside 700 million shillings to support brilliant but underprivileged students from across the country to pursue university education.
Uganda is gifted with many brilliant and innovative youth. Unfortunately, some of them cannot or can hardly afford to pay for their tertiary education. Therefore, opportunities that address this need are vital for the youth and for the country, Uganda.
It will be the 16th year running for the educational scheme. According to the Honorable Gerald Sendaula, over 2,200 students have benefited from this scholarship program.
This is not to say that we are encouraging, because we want to have numbers, we are encouraging people to apply for cheap courses. No, far from it. We would like to see more doctors churned out. We would like to see more engineers. We would like to see more agriculturalists.
Undergraduate and postgraduate students in need for educational support will be required to apply online on the Foundation's website. In another development, DFCU Limited posted a comprehensive income of 60.8 billion shillings in the year 2018, which was lower than the previous year by 58.2 billion shillings. While releasing the financial performance highlights, DFCU attributed the dip in income to the business combination of 2017.
We did pay back a bit of the borrowed funds and the subordinated debt. This resulted in a 39% reduction in our interest expense on borrowings alone. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, the interest expense relating to deposits, the 2 years will be the interest expense, but the one on customer deposits came down by 11%, and the one on borrowings came down by 39%.
However, non-funded income in terms and commissions grew by 29% from 40 billion to 51 billion shillings.
Continue our transformation from a niche bank to a universal bank with a special focus on SME development and growth, which is something we do so well.
We recognize that SMEs in this market do not have collateral security. I think for me that is the deal breaker. We have solutions where the SME does not require security.
Due to the drop-in of the total comprehensive income, DFCU shareholders are expected to earn a dividend of 33 shillings per share, which is a drop of 10 shillings compared to the last financial year. Charlotte Amuge and Dennis Igowa for UBC News.
President Yoweri Museveni was the first foreign head of state to travel using the Kenyan Standard Gauge Railway from Mombasa to Nairobi when he boarded the Madaraka Express. In his 3-day state visit, Museveni praised President Kenyatta for handling what he described as Uganda's perennial problem of delays at the port of Mombasa through the railway to tackle corruption and other difficulties in clearing goods destined for Uganda.
Kenya and Uganda have enjoyed very cordial and thriving economic relations. In 2017, Kenya's value of total exports to Uganda was Kenya shillings 61.8 billion, while the total bilateral trade between our two countries was Kenya shillings 103.8 billion. I believe that while these numbers are impressive and are growing, we have barely scratched the surface of what our sister nations can achieve together. Therefore, in our deliberations, we must focus on how to deepen trade between our two nations. I also wish today to recall that Kenya and Uganda have resolved to partner in developing first-class infrastructure projects, particularly under the framework of the Northern Corridor Integration projects, which really aims to connect our great nations and continent.
First of all, we worked on the railway, which is now, we are going to ride, I'll have the honor of riding on it tomorrow. On the invitation of His Excellency, but it also get to Naivasha. And on the other side, we are preparing to build a line from Kampala to Malaba, and eventually a line to Kasese to link with the Congo border, and a line to Nimule to link with the South Sudan. So that line will link up with the heartland of Africa eventually. Now that will cut the cost of transport drastically. I hope you have the figures. But that container we're talking about will now cost less in terms of transport.
I tried to keep it together.
Mobile operators in the last decade have, in Uganda, have invested about $1 billion of capital infrastructure. Now, if you are familiar with the National Development Plan, NDP2, infrastructure is one of the pillars. Okay. Back in the days, road and rail was the key infrastructure. And then we had the third revolution, where computers came in, and then the fourth revolution was the industrial revolution. But right now, really, mobile is the current revolution. And because the operators realize the role that they play, they continue to invest heavily.
Tsavo National Park in Kenya is one of the largest national parks in the world. Due to its sheer size, the park was divided into two separate regions, Tsavo West and Tsavo East, and the dividing boundary is the Nairobi-Mombasa Highway. The park is probably known for its historical man-eating lions and its red elephants. Welcome to Tsavo in our Sounds of Business.
Now in Tsavo West Park, there is biggest elephants, which are red elephants. Red elephants are popular of 28,000 and 680 something there. So the elephants, sometimes they are red according to the place where they stay. If there's a red clay, if there's a bad black clay, they are black. They change their shape to the mud so that they protect the mud, they protect their skins so that no ticks, no any small animals can bite them.
As we draw closer to the Easter season, Business Roundup will be showcasing some of Uganda's pristine tourism sites. You could maybe choose from then where you want to go and spend the long Easter holiday. Catch me on the next episode, same time, same place. My name is Wadilo Mark Arnold, and from the team and I, it's goodbye.